Frustration for Matt Turner, for Christian Pulisic, for everybody involved as the United States draws 1-1 against New Zealand. Her coming off the 2-1 defeat against Canada, not exactly the bounce-back result or performance you would have liked to see, huh?
You think? Where do we go? I think you have to go with the attitude and the mentality of the players. Because you could say, listen, against Canada, 6 to 7 starters were missing. You could say, in this game, only 3 starters played. 2 of those starters, Matt Turner and Fowler and Balogun, may not be starters when Mauricio Pochettino comes. That's a reality. Only Chris Richards. You could go that route. But it doesn't matter who you field. As a pool, you probably most definitely have more than New Zealand. And at the bare minimum...
New Zealand just got rocked 3-0 by Mexico.
And it should have been 7. At the bare minimum, pride has to come into play. Mentality. And that was missing. And I'm sure we'll get into it. Christian Pulisic and his quotes after the game, post-match, that's just a player screaming for help. And maybe he should help himself, but he sees just how low mentally they are at the moment. He spoke about culture. When your own captain starts speaking about culture, you know it's gotten rotten. You know it's become toxic within.
It's been a bad window, Ale, but they don't have a manager. It's September. Are we looking too much into what we've seen over these last 180 minutes from the U.S.?
It's just not good signs. It really isn't. And we talked about it at length on Forward Americas that it's a substitute teacher that has taken over this team. And, of course, that plays a part as to how the players perform. Whether it's just a human reaction. The boss is not the boss. And that guy is not going to be making decisions, Mikey Varas. And so up until the actual boss is there and then the players are held to a different standard, a standard in which they have to perform, or else a manager that doesn't owe anything to any of these players, and so therefore you're proving yourself time and time again, then while this is disappointing and not excusable, it's actually something that you could expect. Because this is a team that wasn't trending in the right direction to begin with. This is a team that was having difficulties, that had a disappointing end to Copa America, that you can look for all sorts of reasons as to why they're not performing, but in the end, it goes back to a very simple concept. Up until this team starts running, tackling, working, then nothing's going to happen. Because at the core of their success, here, now, and into the future, will be hard work, or should be hard work, should be fight, should be mentality. All this passing, the United States don't have good enough players to just be passing the ball around and think of themselves as better than New Zealand or better than Canada. You have to prove it. And the first thing that you have to do in order to prove it is show a certain amount of character and fight. That, I must say, was slightly better against New Zealand than it was against Canada, but Canada was a very, very low bar. So, look, it's hard to look for positive here. It's hard to feel good about this team. The one thing that you got going, if you're the United States, is that the manager is now in place in Mauricio Pochettino, and so now there are no more excuses. Players have to perform.
You know, the one thing I think Pochettino will take away from these 2 games is actually a good thing for him, because he knows exactly where to start. It's not the tactics, it's not all of that stuff. It's the mentality.
How do you shift that?
Well,
it may be obvious that that's where they need to start, but how do you...
No, it's dead easy.
Really?
You hold them to a standard. Off the pitch and on the pitch.
What does that mean? Harder training sessions? Because that's what everybody says with Pochettino.
No, it's the attention to detail. It's the 100% effort. When the whistle blows, whether it's a game or whether it's training or whether you're doing a function, you see who's clued in and who's not clued in. And if you don't want to be clued in, then see you later. Goodbye.
Are you seeing a team that's not clued in their training sessions?
Oh, my goodness. You know, again, the best teams in the world all play the way they train. Every single one of them. Every decent team I've ever been in plays the way they trained. Because you cannot spend Monday to Friday, whatever it may be, not putting it in, not concentrating, not being alive, not listening, and then think that you're going to turn up to a game and perform. It doesn't work that way. You get away with it every now and again, but it doesn't work that way. So right off the bat, he knows the very first thing he has to do. Get into them, get them clued in, and get the mentality right.
You know, Steve's an experienced coach. An experienced coach comes into the Mexico program, and you hear those players post-game playing against Canada, and it was a very just ugly game, rigid, ugly game. And the first thing they say post-match was, it was made very clear to us that they should not outwork us. We lose, but we are not getting outworked. There is no way they come in and bully us here. Mikey Varas is a substitute teacher. Sure. Did he set him up to win? Probably not. Played 3 at the front. You know, Farland Balogun flanked by Ricardo Pepi and Haji Wright. 3 nines off the bat. Brandon Aronson in the midfield, in the center. Probably didn't set them up. But at the bare minimum, the message should be, we defend our home. We don't get outworked.
It wasn't like, well, let's get numbers forward. Let's go and try to create a chance. No, it was just like, oh, shoulders down, heads down. This is who we are. Oh, me, my, oh, my. We move on. It's all too easy to just kind of put the head down, shoulders down. It tells me that the level of confidence of the group is not there, that the mentality is not there, that there's a whole lot of stuff that needs to be addressed, that it's not so much about on the field, but it's to Stevie's point, is what do we do in preparation to getting on the field? It's too late once you get on the field if you haven't worked on it coming into the match. And I get the sense that this is a team right now that is expecting for things to go wrong. And when they do go wrong, it's like, well, we knew it was going to go wrong.
When you see a lot of them playing, they look like wannabes that are not prepared to take the extra step.
But think they can.
Well, they think they can. They don't.
Yeah.
What does a wannabe do? What does that look like?
They want to play for Man City. They want to play for Liverpool. They want to play for all the teams that are winning all the championships. That's what they want. But to do that, you've got to sacrifice and you've got to put the extra bit in, whatever it may be. They look as though they think it's just going to happen. Just turn up and it'll happen. And to go back to the very first thing that we've all spoken about, the very first thing is you work harder than the guy standing next to you. Yeah. Whether it's your teammate or whether it's the opposition. You make sure that you cannot, nobody can point a finger at you and say you didn't get there because you didn't put the work in the proper manner.
All right, the man in charge of getting him to do all that work is, of course, Mauricio Pochettino, but the guy who brought him in is Matt Crocker. Let's hear what the technical director over at US Soccer had to say about the appointment. Quote, Mauricio is a serial winner with a deep passion for player development and a proven ability to build cohesive and competitive teams. I am confident that he is the right choice to harness the immense potential within our talented squad. That's from Matt Crocker. What are the players themselves saying? Let's listen in.
I don't know about the cereal, but...
Big news for the program, of course. You know, a coach with a lot of experience and hopefully someone that's going to come in and, you know, turn things around here and, you know, compete and start to win.
Yeah, it's exciting, you know. It's a world-class coach. He's had world-class players and developed world-class players. So I think it'll be really big, not just for me personally, but also for everybody in the camp.
He's a coach that you hear and it kind of just, it has a ring to it almost. You know, it's really exciting for us. It's really exciting for, I mean, our nation and its football to have such a decorated coach come in and look after us. So we're all looking forward to it as players, getting to know him and getting to work with him. And yeah, it's going to be really awesome.
What are you most excited about with him? What do you think he can bring to this club?
Yeah, I think a lot of things. I think personally, on a personal level, learning from him, growing my game, and I think that's with everybody too. Learning, getting better through him, teaching us things, and I just think like this, almost like him coming in and having like an aura about him almost, you know, like someone to look up to, and we know that he's going to play high-intensity football and it fits us, so I think a lot of things are going to work and it's going to click.
Kind of a new style of play, or at least a functioning style of play. I think it's something that we've kind of been trying to find our identity with for the last few years, and I think having stability, I think will be good for us.
I hope he can, you know, bring a new winning mentality, a culture within the team that's really going to make a switch and flip a switch for a lot of the guys to really to take a step up. So I think that's what I hope he brings.
Mauricio Pochettino excited as well. Here he is on his Instagram, the start of an exciting new journey and one I'm very proud to be part of. Let's make it one to remember for all. The reports are in. He's going to make about $6 million a year. Not exactly what he was making at Chelsea, but still pretty good cash in terms of the international manager market. All right, so we know Pochettino's kind of a mentality guy. Based on everything that we've been saying here, perfect, right? Exactly what they need right now is this manager.
Yeah. And listen, U.S. Soccer's...
Do you have any doubts that he can fix
What's fixed?
The mentality issues? Because that's what everybody's talking about is attitude,
You know what?
mentality.
That's the bare minimum. I mean, I see players who
It may
play
be the bare minimum, but it's the issue right now.
No, but that's exactly where you start, Seb. I mean, honestly, I see individuals out there. I'm watching this game against Canada, and I'm seeing the best player the U.S. men's national team has is Christian Pulisic. Chopped down, play after play. Jesse Marsch is sending a message. You see anybody go defend him?
No.
Do you see anybody go defend his teammate?
Half, yeah.
No. Brendan Aronson almost gets his ankle broken against New Zealand. There's no problem. You okay, buddy? There's no pride. So Pochettino comes in, and forget about the resume for a second, okay? The bare minimum. If you're Pochettino, because there's going to be some players who are not going to win starting positions based on this window. They never were. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you what, there's some players who may be playing their way out of the national team. The pool.
Who?
Matt Turner, he's right now, Tim Ream, those type of guys, you should be worried. You should be worried because Mauricio Pochettino comes in, he's going to have his guys, his way of playing. And if you're one of those bubble guys who's low on confidence, has a terrible club situation right now, and all of a sudden there's doubts about your standing in the national team, I don't care if you're a starter or not. It's carte blanche. It starts over. So, bare minimum, he's going to come in and, I can't even believe I'm saying this, change the culture by asking him to do the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. Listen to what I'm saying. To do the bare minimum. I've played against Stevie's teams before, back in the day. You kick one of their players, there's going to be 3 more kicking you the next play. That's a team. You protect each other. This team doesn't look like they protect each other. Mauricio Pochettino is going to come in and immediately fix that. Now, his resume speaks for the rest. I think he's got raw enough material to make this team a difficult team to play against. They certainly won't be playing out the back. They certainly won't be a team that plays progressive football. You're not going to see Spanish-type play in the final third. But the teams who have been successful in world football, the Argentinas, the France, they've done it being pragmatic. They've done it being stingy. They've done it being fast in transition. Does the U.S. men's national team have that? Absolutely. He can make that.
We're looking at his resume here. How big is the aura factor to that? I think it was Brendan Aronson mentioned. You know, there hasn't been a lot of aura around U.S. managers since maybe going back to Jurgen Klinsmann. Maybe that's even a stretch. But certainly that seems to be one of the big selling points here around him, Ale.
I think he will get the attention of the players right away. He is not a buddy-buddy. He's not a guy or a name that they have been comfortable with or around that sort of name for a while. And so what they will understand right away, I think, is that Mauricio Pochettino will have an objective evaluation of these players. Not an evaluation based upon relay. Those guys better bring their very best. And so, as I said before, this is Christian Pulisic and think more. He's in a different category altogether. And Christian Pulisic himself just kind of talked about it and alluded to it. It was, hey, we need other guys to bring their level up. I think Mauricio Pochettino is going to demand that from other players. They're going to have to bring the level up, and there are going to be players that get an opportunity that didn't before. Because guess what? When you start evaluating this team objectively right now and everybody starts from zero, there are a lot of players, and Herculez just mentioned it, that are in bad club situations, that are not playing every weekend. And now you give a chance to those that actually have been playing to say, hey, excuse me, you may not have heard of me, but this is what I can do for you. A guy like yesterday, for example, Marlon Fussy.
Yeah.
Marlon Fussy could walk into the studio right now, and we would have security like, hey, who's this guy? Who's this guy? Right? But that's the sort of guy that has opened at least somebody's eyes and has brought some attention to himself that wasn't there before.
Absolutely.
How quickly, Stevie, can we expect a turnaround here? You look at the women's program, they brought in Emma Hayes, they won a gold medal like a month later.
Well, she clearly created a togetherness very, very quickly. And I think you could tell by the way that Pulisic was talking there, how he was almost begging for...
Yeah.
Which is so strange because under Berhalter, all we heard was, we got a great culture.
Yeah.
Do you know what? The old classic talking shit. If you're hearing everybody talking about it,
it's not true.
Why are you going to talk bad about the coach when he's still the coach, right?
Sure,
like,
but that was the thing, you know, I'm not wrong, right? That was the thing that everybody pointed to, that
and
this guy has
these
created
players
a
look
great
like
culture.
hypocrites now, but you're never going to talk bad about your boss with your boss right there.
But as far as Pulisic is concerned, he has to be front and centre in creating this as well. Not just the manager. The manager has to bring in the bat. He's got to walk around with the bat ready to hit somebody with it if they don't toe the line. But Pulisic and the other, I would suggest Ream's probably going to stay around because of his experience right now. He's certainly not the future, but I think he'll be around. So those two in particular, plus a couple of others, they're the ones that have to take Pochettino's lead and create that togetherness. Because without that, you don't win against good teams. Now, as far as Pochettino's concerned, if he can create that and then the players can take it on, then it will happen sooner than later.
You agree with Herc that there's quality enough material there to...
Listen, these players haven't... I said they're wannabes. They want to be playing with Man City. Mm-hmm. But they've got themselves to a position where they're almost in teams. They're actually on the US squad. Some of them are actually on the field. So what they have to do now is take on board what Pochettino's going to tell them. Added to the togetherness, because without that, the other bit doesn't work. It doesn't work. But Pochettino has to figure out who he wants, who he doesn't want, regardless of the name, and get him out the door. You know, we saw Emma Hayes coming in. Who was the first one to go?
Yeah, Alex Morgan.
Yeah, Alex Morgan.
Yeah,
no,
big
that
name.
tells you
Name.
that sends a big message to everybody else that, you know what, I need this, and I need this, and I need this. And if you don't give me this and this and this, then thank you very much, but you won't be part of it. That's what this whole thing needs, regardless of tactics and all the other stuff. That's what it needs right off the bat.
And to your point, Stevie, we know that Mauricio Pochettino is going to bring leadership off the field and leadership in training and leadership in terms of a presence in the locker room. But this team requires, demands, is begging for leadership on the field. On the field. And you have to imagine that leadership has to come from a guy like Christian Pulisic. He carries that responsibility because of his stature in the game. It's just a natural expectation of a guy who is your best player to, at the very least, be among the leaders of your group. And so
he has to embrace it, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
I feel like the performances from Pulisic are very consistent.
Yes, and
he's the only one that
he's a pro player.
Yes, right. And so
what's missing then? What
there is leadership in playing,
right.
And to your point, yes, when you look at this team and you look at a bunch of players, one stands out is Christian Pulisic, right? I'm not going to argue with that, but there's more to it. There's more to it. Certainly with a team like the United States. Hey, if we were talking about France, if we were talking about Germany, if we were talking about a different team, Argentina, what have you, there are other players that would be at that sort of level. And so you can sort of spread that leadership around. But in the United States, he is the figurehead. He is the flag bearer. He is the one guy that is recognizable to the hardcore fan, to the casual fan, to anybody that knows anything about soccer in this country. Who do you know? Christian Pulisic. So he has to embrace that he indeed is the guy. And so I think this is an opportunity both for Pochettino and Christian Pulisic to now understand leadership is coming off the field. I can trust that the right decisions are going to be made off the field. Now I have to provide something different on the field. And it's not just about scoring goals. It's not just about step-overs. There's a demand that needs to come from him so that other players around him try to come up to his level.
You're not wrong. I just don't know if Christian Pulisic is capable of that. Because Christian Pulisic is a hell of a player, but he's an introvert. The one guy who will demand from his teammates can't get on the field. That's Tyler Adams. Christian Pulisic reminds me a lot of Landon Donovan. Hell of a player. But when it came to that, there were other players to do that on the field.
So
other
who's
players.
The guy if it's not Pulisic? Who's the guy and it's not Adams? Can you think of a guy? And is maybe that the statement?
And there we go.
And that's the problem.
That conversation?
And this is the issue here because you asked, how quickly can he get him going? I looked at Jesse Marsch. Jesse Marsch had 2 games before Copa America. They got embarrassed by the Netherlands, and it was a close game at halftime, and then 4 goals, maybe not a 4-goal game. And then a respectable draw against France to come into Copa America and completely change the way we think about Canada. Canada with Mario Biello, their interim, after John Herdman, lost to Honduras, they lost to Jamaica at home, had to go to a playoff of the Copa America, and then it comes Jesse Marsch and changes like that. But there are leaders within that team. Estacio, Jonathan David. He made Alphonso Davies what we're talking